So we are not even in the Biden era yet, and yet the media is beclowning themselves in ways that we did not even know possible. And the perfect one to start with, a preview of the coming 4 years, is CNN's David Chalian describing Joe Biden and the contrast to Donald Trump. Let's take a listen.
The contrast on display tonight was so stark. I mean, those lights that are just shooting out from the Lincoln Memorial along the reflecting pool. It's like almost extensions of Joe Biden's arms embracing America. It was a moment where the new president came to town and sort of convened the country in this moment of remembrance, outstretching his arms. And contrast that with that video you just saw of a disgraced president on his way out at his lowest point in his presidency at the very end here by himself, fighting for his political movement to live on.
In the words of Glenn Greenwald, not even North Korean TV would say this.
His arms embracing America. Oh, it's so painful. Imagine, these people pretend to be down the line, middle of the road journalists, but they just have not been able to hold it together this week at all. I mean, it started with, I really thought it was shameful, this hagiography that CNN put together on Kamala Harris, this total celeb style treatment. She shares her personal stories. That's how they build it here. This country is facing multiple massive crises. People want to hear from Kamala Harris, the now vice president of the United States, what's your plan to deal with that? Not your personal stories, some of which apparently she likes to invent or borrow from other figures, by the way. There's also a New York Times editor who tweeted out that she saw Biden's plane landing and it gave her chills. Yeah. And she was apparently so dragged online that I think she deleted her account, maybe. It was it's just embarrassing. Get it together. I actually, in a way, I'm kind of envious that people could feel this way about the Democratic Party and about Joe Biden, but really? You're this excited and enthralled with Joe freaking Biden? I just can't really wrap my head around it.
Yeah. And last night I saw, this guy Shimon, I can't pronounce his last name. He's the CNN justice reporter. I've watched him all the time report on Mueller over there. He tweets out, he's like, now is the time for healing. We have needed this so badly. And I'm just like, what are you, a press secretary? This is crazy. You're about to cover his own Justice Department. And, David Rutz, who's over at the Free Beacon, he put together this thread. Let's start throwing some of them up there on the screen. And they're just amazing. I mean, you can see there about, the Today Show, and they're talking about Biden and about, Jill Biden. And then most people know her as Jill Biden, but to some, she's Dr. B, the compassionate, challenging educator who went the extra mile. Let's throw the next one up there because this is just amazing. Same thing. Live on MSNBC, Kamala Harris's childhood friend ahead of the inauguration, giving us some real analysis. And then, a great story about how Joe and Jill apparently fight over who gets to ride their Peloton in the morning. And this is an entire profile in the New York Times. And this is another great one from the Washington Post. Perspective: in fashion, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris display their common ground.
Even in fashion, they're nailing it, Saagar.
It's
Even
nauseating.
Their fashion gives me chills and makes me feel warm embrace of Joe Biden's arms. By the way, I'd be a little careful with that language, given some of the things Biden's been accused of. What is really sad is that, they're very open about it. There was actually that piece, remember we covered it here, I think it was in The Atlantic, McKay Coppins, who interviewed all these resistance journalists who'd made a name and a career for themselves in the Trump era. And they essentially admitted outright that, it's going to be a lot harder and a lot less comfortable and a lot less sort of yes, Queenie, to cover the Biden administration critically. And we saw during the Democratic primary, we saw during the general election, the kind of softball, hands-off treatment that he received all the way up to, this whole thing with Hunter at the end where tech companies censored the ability to even share this New York Post article about Hunter Biden and questions raised about his corruption and by extension, his father's corruption. They've been running cover for him the entire year. And now, I guess, is the payoff of the fruits of their labor. So they feel very emboldened to share that very directly, apparently, with people in ways that are utterly embarrassing.
Yeah, it really is. Look, we all knew it was coming, but to see it all manifest itself, I mean, that clip is perfect. That thread, it just goes to show this is what we're in for the next 4 years. Luckily, we have this show in order to call it all out, and it'll be a lot of fun. I love, in particular, that quote from Jim Acosta being like, no, I just won't cover it the same way because it won't be the same. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I mean, at least say it in the quiet part out loud. You got to love
Points for honesty. I'll give them that. I will give them that. At least they're being upfront about it. And again, look, I honestly wish, because I felt that way when Barack Obama was initially elected in 2000. I remember what it felt like to feel that way about a president coming in and about the Democratic Party and that sort of team camaraderie and it's all going to be okay now. And so I'm envious of those that have been able to hold on to that fantasy and allowed it to persist for this long.
Yeah, that's right. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. It's been a historic day. I'm glad that we got to bring you all sides of what exactly is going on, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you back here tomorrow.